Hello, thanks for tuning in. As you can see, I'm in a new, not studio, I'm in a new area, filming area, my new background. That's what I should say, my new background. We moved house, and I'm still kind of getting it set up. I have an area that I want to film in, but it's kind of full of stuff, boxes and furniture, so bear with me. I do have my equipment. Oh, you can see this. I do have my equipment. If you hear my dog chewing in the background, he's just behind the camera here. Today I want to talk about telling people I'm crazy, or, telling people about my mental illness. Whatever you want to call it. I have 4 stories for you. In 3 of them, I tell people about my mental illness, and in 1 of them, I choose not to because of my being burned, because one of them does not turn out so happy. We'll start with that one. So the first one takes place years ago, and this was the first time I told somebody that I'm crazy. Somebody outside of my family and friends. At this point, my family and friends knew. Well, like 1 of my friends, 2 of my friends, I think. But I didn't have that many friends. So we're talking on a dating app, right? We're on like OkCupid or something. And we're talking, and this is before we met in person. We were kind of thinking about meeting in person, blah, blah, blah. And then I tell him I have a mental illness. At the time, I thought it was psychotic depression. So I said I have psychotic depression. However, I am stable. I'm on medication. I take my medication all the time. I'm very stable and stuff. And he did not take it well. He gave me a couple of long, messages talking about how, I don't remember all of it, but he basically said that he would be scared if we were to get together, that I would use my mental illness as a weapon. I don't really know how I would do that, but that's what he decided. And then he thought that if kids were involved, he wouldn't want to bring kids into that situation because, that would just be, let me check my notes. They'd be in danger on my bad days. This is why I didn't tell people I'm mentally ill. This is why you don't do it, because you get people who judge you and don't understand mental illness landscape. They don't understand what a schizospectrum disorder is like, because at the time it was schizoaffective disorder, even though I thought it was psychotic depression. Anyway, this is why you don't tell people you're crazy, because then they think you're crazy. They think you're off your rocker and you get judged horribly, really extremely. And this guy had never met me before, right? So part of it, I can kind of see where he's coming from, because he obviously has never dealt with severe mental illness or psychosis in his life before. Obviously not personally, but also with anybody else, because he doesn't seem to think that those people can be stable. He didn't seem to believe me when I said I'm stable. I learned my lesson, okay? So when I did tell people I'm mentally ill, there were 2 other stories that I want to tell you of when I told people I'm mentally ill, and then I want to tell you about when I choose not to tell people that I'm crazy. I was kind of burned by this guy, and I thought to myself, well, how can he judge me? He's never even met me, but maybe that was the problem. I thought he's never met me in person, so he's never seen me as somebody who doesn't seem like they has a mental illness, because I don't seem like I have one. I mask well, generally. So because I learned my lesson, when I started talking to my partner, I went on a date with him. I didn't mention anything about being mentally ill. I went on a date with him. Before the second date, though, we were texting a lot, and I was like, okay, well, I wanted to tell you that, I suffer with schizoaffective disorder. You can decide whether or not you go on a second date with me. I just wanted to be fully transparent, right? And he texts me 30 seconds later, and maybe 10 seconds later, he says something like, just a sec, looking it up. So then he, does his research, his cursory research, comes back and says, that's okay. It doesn't change how I feel. I still want to go on a second date with you. Because he saw that I'm completely stable. He can assume from that I'm taking my meds. I appear very stable. And I am very stable. I was at the time, and I am, and all that stuff. So that isn't time that it really worked out telling somebody I'm crazy, because he was going to find out eventually if we were going to be serious. And we are serious. We became serious. This is my current partner. We're good. I have another time that it worked out. So the third story I have for you is when I told my coworker about my mental illness. I was having a bad day, and it kind of was building up to I could talk to her about stuff, she could talk to me about stuff, and eventually I kind of broke down. I was having a bad mental health day kind of thing, symptom day or whatever, and I said, can I tell you something? And she said, sure. And I was kind of crying and stuff, and I said, I have schizoaffective disorder. Do you know what that is? And she said, yes, I know what that is. And then she actually confided in me that she used to be on antidepressants. And I asked her, are you still on antidepressants? And she said, no. Luckily, I was able to get off of it. And I said, good for you. I'm really glad for you, because it's always nice when you can get off of medication, of course. I unfortunately will be on medication my whole life. That's just how it is, and that's, it's whatever. That's just how it is. But she was so understanding, actually. She was very, very nice about it. So she said, it's okay. It's okay. I understand, and I don't work there anymore. And she was a very good referee. She actually was a referee. She gave a reference for me for my current job. That was the job I had before my current job. At my current job, this is my last, actual story. And then I want to talk about kind of who I tell and who I don't tell and why. At my current job, one of my coworkers was telling me about her family situation, which is, I don't really need to know, but she was sharing. She basically said that there's a person in her life, I don't really want to go into the details, but there's a person in her life who is most likely severely mentally ill. The coworker expects that there is either bipolar or schizophrenia going on with this person. She is apparently not very compliant with taking her medication or with her treatment. She's not very compliant with her treatment. That's what I said. I said it sounds like she's non-compliant with her treatment. And the coworker is under the impression, at least of the opinion, that this person causes distress in this coworker's life and family and stuff because of her mental illness. Because she's not on the right treatment plan, and she's also non-compliant with her treatment. And I said that's really rough for everybody involved, including that person. But the way she said it, she's like, because she's mentally ill, and then she's like, oh, she either has bipolar or schizophrenia, and I was like, okay, that really sucks. I can empathize with the situation. I am definitely not going to tell you ever that I have schizoaffective disorder, that I have schizophrenia and depression. I'm not sure you would see me the same way. She might be one of those people that'd be like, well, it's not you. It's not like you. You're normal with the mental illness. But this person is just, and I don't really want that. And I'm lucky to be on the right treatment plan now, but it did take, about 6 years. 6 years to get on the right treatment plan. So I'm lucky. This person is still pretty young. I think she said she's I don't know, in her early 20s. Maybe she is just 20. She's been mentally ill for a while. She's had her diagnosis a while, but hello again. She still has a lot of time she needs more time, I think, to get on the right treatment. To get on the right treatment plan. Don't mind him. He's just making an appearance. So that brings me to the point in the video that I want to talk about, how I've never actually told a boss. So I have told 3 bosses that I'm mentally ill. I have not told them about the schizophrenia part. I think all 3 of them have suspect currently depression, anxiety, possibly both. Well, the one boss, I only told her that I have a disability, but I think she suspected something mental. And then another boss, I actually said I have a mental illness. And the current boss, I actually ended up telling her at one point I deal with some mental stuff. And so I appreciate your patience, kindness, understanding, whatever, right? I generally don't like to tell people about the schizophrenia part. I learned my lesson the hard way with that James guy because he judged me before he knew me. I'm partly glad that I told him that because, I told specifically him, because if I had met him in person, then I told him that, it would have been harder for me, because I would have been like, oh, he seemed like a really nice, I don't know, maybe we wouldn't have hit it off, but we seemed to be hitting it off online. And so I would have been like, oh man, he seemed like a really nice guy. And then he turned out to be somebody who doesn't understand anything about mental illness whatsoever at all, and has huge misconceptions about it and judged me horribly for it. And that sucks. But I wasn't really that invested, so it turned out okay. I was very much invested in my partner though, when we started dating. And so, because we really hit it off right away. So I was very happy with his reaction. I counted how many people know about my mental illness, and I think there are 8. 4 family members, my partner, 2 friends, 3 friends. That's 8 people. No, 9 people, because I have a cousin who knows. Fewer than 10 people know about, other than my care team, right? That doesn't count. People in my life. So that makes me curious. Who have you told, if you have a mental illness yourself, who have you told, who do you tell? What are kind of your criteria to tell? The only reason I told that cousin is because he has a mental illness as well. We were kind of sharing things, and I was like, well, just so you know, this is what I deal with. My extended family is a bunch of conservatives. We don't talk about that kind of thing. And I don't think my grandma would understand if I told her, hey, grandma, I have schizophrenia and depression. I don't think that they would look at me the same way ever again. And that's always been my fear, is that people won't look at me the same way. If I tell them, hey, I suffer from schizoaffective disorder, they'll be like, hey, first of all, what's that? And I'll explain. And then schizophrenia and depression. And they'll be like, oh, okay, I don't want to associate with you anymore. I can't look at you the same. That's always my biggest fear. But I mean, like, I don't really care, but I also kind of care because I have to see these people at events and stuff. I never know. You never know how somebody's going to react unless, like, you really know that person. I usually don't tell people. It's difficult for me to tell new people. And if I do tell them, it's just mental illness, severe mental illness sometimes. It's just sometimes mental stuff. And they assume it's depression, I think, because depression and anxiety, I think, are the most common mental illnesses. And so I think that's probably why everyone assumes that's what it is. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Hi. My dog is making an appearance. I deal with some... Hello.